Hello, and welcome to the 50th episode of the Veggies Abroad podcast. I'm your host and Chief Veggie Pusher, Rebecca Gade Sawicki, and I'm so excited you're here to celebrate this milestone with me. If you're new around here, Veggies Abroad is a travel company that believes exploration should be a force for good. And for us, that starts with being plant-powered. Every trip we design is guided by compassion for people, the animals, and the planet. From custom trip planning and small group adventures to our blog packed with guides, tips, and inspiration. And of course, this podcast. This podcast is all about shining a light on the businesses, people, and ideas that make travel better. From vegan-friendly experiences to responsible tourism practices and community empowerment. Because those are the things we need more of and the things worth supporting when we travel. So you heard that correctly. Today we are celebrating our 50th episode. Throw the biodegradable confetti. I just want to take a moment to thank you all for tuning in, for sharing episodes, for joining me on this journey. Every listen, message, and download has helped this little podcast grow into a space for conversations about conscious, compassionate travel. And I'm so grateful you're here for this milestone. And there's no better time than now to say, if you haven't left a rating for this show, please do it now. It does make a difference to the podcast algorithm overlords. Now, let's dive into today's adventure, vegan travel in Greece. When most people picture Greece, they imagine a lot of cheese, feta specifically, seafood, and island life. But here's a secret. Greece is actually pretty darn vegan friendly, and some of its best experiences, of course in my opinion, aren't on the islands at all, but right on the mainland. From ancient streets of Athens to the mountain village of Dimitsana and the romantic seaside towns of Nafplio and Nafplio, we're going to explore how to plan an incredible veggie-packed trip. So whether Greece is already on your bucket list, or maybe you've never thought about it, or you're just curious how you can thrive in an unexpected place, this episode is packed with inspiration. And joining me once again to chat all about Greece is Matt, a man who insists on reviewing every itinerary I create just so he can say, wait, can I do that too? Hi, Matt.
Hello, and congratulations on your 50th episode.
Yeah, I actually can't believe we made it. If I'm being honest, it kind of snuck up on me, but yeah, it's pretty incredible that we've survived this far.
You've had some really amazing guests too. Who do you think was your favorite?
Oh, that's a good question. That's really hard. So, okay, there's been a few. I think one of the first would have been the person from Friends of the Earth. We talked about the cruise industry, and that was really enlightening to a lot of people. I got a lot of emails after that show. It was really enlightening for me. I knew a lot, but really, really interesting. Let's see. I loved the conversation with Catherine from Bless Elephant Sanctuary in Thailand. That was really funny because it was so hard to plan that episode because of the time difference. And so I think we ended up, it was like the middle of the night or something for her and really early in the morning for me. And then recently the voluntourism episode I thought was also really great and such an insightful conversation. And those three I feel like all really embody the things that I want to get across in this podcast and the things I really want to focus on and the things that I think should be really important to travelers.
I think you're leaving one off because the one that was really, really good and I really enjoyed was the one that you had the travelers that went on your trip to Costa Rica.
Oh, and the ones from Iceland. Yeah, those were really fun too. Yeah, see, it's hard to pick just one.
Yeah, those were great. I really like when you do that because you get a real insight into how amazing the tours that you put on are.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, of course, people always expect me to say nice things and that it's the best trip ever and you're not wasting your money. But it's always more meaningful when actual clients, share reviews and come on the podcast. So yeah, I agree.
And I know they're not always the best episodes, but I always enjoy our talks. We get to kind of recap things.
Yeah, because I'm always looking at you like, can you hurry up with that question? Get moving. What are you doing? We're going to have to edit that. If people only saw the behind the scenes with you, and it evolves. I'd say in the very beginning, it was rough.
I've taken some direction. I really am.
Yeah, reluctantly, guys. Reluctantly, yes.
All right. Well, hey, let's jump right into it.
Into Greece, yes.
So we're going to talk a little bit about Greece today, huh? I mean, true or false, going to Greece was always on your bucket list.
False. It wasn't. I actually never really wanted to go to Greece, if I'm being 1,000% honest. And that always surprises people because it's like on everybody's bucket list. But I really wasn't super interested in beach. And that's what I always kind of pictured Greece outside of Athens, outside of the ruins, was just beach and islands. And I just was always like, I don't know, not for me. But I get a lot of requests and a lot of inquiries for Greece. And so I was like, I gotta figure out something for this. And I've got to figure out some itineraries for people that maybe don't want to go to the islands, or maybe they want to mix, or maybe they want to hike. And, these are things that probably don't come to mind right away. And it should be known that Greece is giant, so it can feel really overwhelming when you go to start a trip.
Wait. You mean you didn't want the famous Instagram shot in Santorini?
No, actually, and I was trying to take a picture when I was in Santorini. I don't remember what it was. Maybe it was a cat or something. And a lady was like, "Let me take your picture." And I was like, "No, it's totally fine. Like, I don't need it." And she took it, and it was crooked. And I was like, "This accurately is my influencing profile picture right here. I am queen influencer in this."
But isn't that what everybody ultimately always thinks about when they think of Greece nowadays? Is the Mykonos or Santorini? I'm going to go there and I'm going to take the best pictures of this blue, turquoise blue water and this white sand and these cliffs and all this other stuff.
Yeah, I do think that comes up a lot for a lot of people. Well, I don't think necessarily people are like, I want to have my Instagram moment, but I think people have been so influenced by what they see on Instagram that they're like, I have to see this in person. And I totally understand that. But it's really hard. And Greece isn't the only one that this will happen with. Is that the reality of these photos is much different when you go. And, we can get into some of that for sure. But let's just say you can be really creative with how you take pictures, and it doesn't always accurately depict what you're getting yourself into.
But there's no denying it was an amazing place. So
yeah. I actually want to go back. I think that shares a lot for someone who was like, I don't want to do this. Just someone who reluctantly was like, fine, I'll do it. And then I came back and I was like, I want to do that again. That was great, actually.
Yeah, I do remember you coming home and being super excited. You had a really great time. And I think you met some really great people, like some hotel owners. But let's get into the planning. So for someone planning their first trip, why might exploring the mainland be even better than island hopping?
So I think first, and I already mentioned this, is that to keep in mind that Greece is huge. So many people only think of Greece as the islands, but there is so much more. I mean, even in the islands, if you always get a lot of the fame and pictures and tourists, but there's just so much. I actually should have looked this up before, now that I'm thinking about it, but there's hundreds of islands that make up Greece. And then you've got the mainland, and the mainland is giant. There's actually, then the peninsula, and then also the mainland where Athens is located in Thessaloniki. So there's just so much. So when you focus, look into the mainland can give you some, non-touristy experiences. You can get to areas where there are literally hardly anybody else, maybe just Greeks. You can, kind of get lost a little bit driving if you want to drive yourself into little cute villages, which are really nice. You can, I'd say the experience on the mainland is just, it's different. And for somebody who maybe wants to have a little bit more of a relaxed itinerary and get to know Greece for Greece, I think that is the best way to go. And then just one tip with driving a car in Greece, I wouldn't try and drive in Athens. Traffic can be kind of insane. pick up the car on, when you're going to leave Athens. There are some downtown rental agencies, and then drive it out of the city. And then you'll be fine. Driving outside of Athens, not a big deal. Some areas do get a little bit windy and a little narrow, so keep that in mind. But outside of Athens, not a big deal to drive there. And they drive on the right side of the road. So if anyone from North America, parts of Europe are listening and are like, oh no, what side of the road do they drive on? Totally fine. You don't have to relearn to drive.
So you're talking a lot about driving when you're talking about the mainland. Are you suggesting people rent a car?
I'd say that's the easiest way to get around. You could, when I was there, I did do it as part of a small group, and so we were driven, and that was really nice. So if that's something that can be a part of your itinerary to be driven, then I think that's an even better experience, because then you can just enjoy the scenery and relax and, take in the stories and all of that. But that does then mean you're not able to get around as easily. So I do think when you're on the mainland, it's worth, investigating a car rental.
So Athens is usually the starting point, right? Wow. So yes. That's like the big main city. So what should vegan travelers know about the city before they go?
So Athens is the capital, international airport there. There's also the second largest city is Thessaloniki, which is in the north, and also a major airport there as well. But for most international flights, you're going to want to come in through Athens. You're going to have the best availability of routing and pricing through Athens, and it's easiest just to start and end your itinerary then there. If you're going to other places in Europe, ending in Thessaloniki or even on one of the islands like Crete is a possibility, because then you probably have decent routing options. But if you're trying to get back to North America, then I wouldn't fight with that unless you don't mind multiple stops, or you're flying into a major hub like New York City, San Francisco, LA. So for veggie-focused travelers, Athens is amazing because there are so many cool options for food. There's like your regular stuff that you can kind of get anywhere, but then there's a lot of veganized Greek dishes like pastitsio. I had that at a place called Veganaki, and that was fantastic. And moussaka. What else? All kinds of stuff that you can find that traditionally has a lot of cheese in it, or a lot of dairy. That was one of the highlights, I think, for me, for some of the vegan spots in Athens. And then another one was this cute little place called Avocado, which is actually across the street from a hotel that is hooked up to a restaurant. So it was a vegan restaurant. It does not appear that it's open to the public anymore, but it's still hooked up with the the hotel. So they can provide travelers with vegan breakfast options, which is really nice. And that hotel is called Nikki Athens. But Avocado was super cute because it was like this cute little cafe, and a lot of like really veggie forward stuff, really great juice, super affordably priced. So I loved that place. And then for people who have sweet tooths, also in that same vicinity is a place called Holy Llama, which is a bakery and cafe, and they do gorgeous pastries. And then there are a couple locations for this place. It's called Sugar Killer. And at first I had read that they had vegan options, but it turns out everything was vegan. But it's just like it's not displayed, so they're, quietly pushing that agenda, which I really liked. I had to go in twice because I was like unsure, like, oh, was this dairy filled or not dairy filled? And it was great. They had so many creative gelato options, and then they also had traditional Greek dishes, Greek desserts as well. So you can try those, and they were filled with gluten. So unfortunately, I couldn't try them, but I just stared at them longingly. And then, of course, Athens is always great because you want to go to the Acropolis, right? Unless it's 1,000,000 degrees, you don't want to. And you want to, kickstart with some of that really famous Greek history. And there's no better place to do it than in Athens.
So real quick on the food, did you eat any tofu feta?
Good question.
And was there any vegan saganaki? Like we have here, we don't have any vegan here in Detroit, but
yeah,
saganaki is big in Detroit.
I don't know that I recall seeing vegan saganaki, but I have to believe that one of those places has it. I just might not have been looking for it. And then the feta, I did have feta in some things, but I don't think it was made from tofu. I think they just had a brand like, we have here, your follow the heart kind of thing. It wasn't anything that I recall thinking, oh, this is different or this is better than what we have.
Okay. Yeah. So tell me about the price point for Athens. Is the dollar strong? Do they use, compared to the money that they use in Athens? Are they using the euro there exclusively? Yes, okay. That's what I guess I'm asking. So they use the euro exclusively.
Yeah. Right. I'd say pricing is on par with the rest of Europe. It's not, I wouldn't expect that. You should not expect to see this as a budget destination. This isn't Southeast Asia. That's what I'm asking here. Yeah, it's just like the rest of Europe, North America. I think on average, dishes were between $10 to $20. So yeah, I don't think.
Okay, so
nothing surprising.
So okay, here's it. So if I'm a do-it-myself planet guy, and I want to go to Athens and do a little trip to Athens, what can I expect for, let's say, an 8-day trip from the States? Just a general number if I'm planning it myself.
I feel like you're asking me this question because I hate this question. That is so hard it is so hard to answer because it's not taking in your preferences. It's not taking in, do you want a 3, 4, 5-star hotel experience? Are you going to want to be picked up at the airport? Are you going to take transit? Where are you flying from? Again, if you're flying from New York, your flight is going to be a lot better than if you're flying from Detroit like me. What else? Do you want a private guide? Do you want to be in a small group? All of those things make it really hard to just give someone that's $5,000 kind of thing. No, I'd never say that. I have to take in all of these other things because then if I say it's $1,000, but then someone goes and does it and is like, you're wrong. I'm like, well, yeah, I'm wrong because I don't know you.
Yeah, I get it. That's why you need to do one-on-one planning with you probably, right?
Well, yeah, if you don't want to plan your trip yourself. Absolutely. And I actually have clients going to Greece. Actually, when this airs, they will be there, I think, because they're going in October. And we're doing a very similar itinerary to some of the things that we're talking about.
That's amazing. All right.
Yeah, and they didn't have to think about anything. They just left it all to me, and they get to show up and enjoy it.
I love it. So if somebody wanted to focus on the mainland, what would a great itinerary look like?
So this is going to come down to a little bit of how much time you have. If you've got 2 weeks, it's going to look a little bit different. If you've got just say a little over a week, 8 days or so, what I would do is start in Athens, do a couple days there. And then if you like hiking, if you want to get off the beaten path a little bit, you want to experience, a more relaxed atmosphere, go to Dimitsana, which is in the mountains. It's kind of in the middle of the Peloponnese Peninsula. And then circle your way back and stop in the cute little town of Nafplio, which is right on the water. So you get those really beautiful sweeping turquoise water views. You can go on really nice walks along the water. You can eat on the water, you get that part. And then swing back for a night, drop the car off, and stay one night in Athens and then go to the airport. Or Nafplio is only 2 hours from the Athens airport. So as long as you don't have a 6 a.m. flight, it's totally realistic then to just drive right to the airport and drop the car off there. If you've got more time, then we can go a little bit further north before going into the Peloponnese Peninsula. And you could add a little stop to a little town called Kalambaka to visit Meteora, which is a really famous site. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It's these really giant, large rock formations, and at the top of them are these 24 really cute little monasteries. You can go there for the sunset. They are pretty popular. Another thing, people, obviously it's Greece, beach time. And the southern end of the Peloponnese are where some really nice beaches are, including in Elafonisos. Really beautiful, picture perfect. So you could add that on. If you've got a lot of time, then I would try and wiggle in Thessaloniki. And so Thessaloniki is in the north. And if you're coming from Europe, you could easily fly in there and then fly out of Athens to make this a little bit easier. Thessaloniki also is near this peninsula area. They look like little fingers. And I mention this because these little finger peninsulas are really interesting. There are 3 of them. You can go there for wonderful, beautiful views. There are some nice beaches, but I think it's the third one, Mount Athos, which is the third peninsula, women are prohibited. And I remember when our guide told me this, I was like, you're pulling my leg, right? Like, women are actually banned on an entire peninsula. And he was like, seriously, look it up. So I did. And so actually there's a lot of rules to visit this peninsula. If you want to visit, the first step is you have to submit a copy of your passport to the Mount Athos Pilgrims Bureau. Every day, only 100 Orthodox and 10 non-Orthodox male pilgrims are admitted for just a 3-night stay to one of the peninsula's 20 monasteries. Women will not be granted a permit and must stay behind as their male friends go on. Mount Athos has barred women for more than 1,000 years. They are not even allowed within 500 meters of the coast, which was crazy. And so they say the simplest way of why are women allowed is to ensure celibacy of the monks, and that it's connected to Orthodox tradition. I think my jaw dropped because it was like, is this the 1800s? Like, what? I was like, what if I sneak in? And they're like, okay, enough. Like, no. Yeah, really crazy, but a beautiful, beautiful area. So you could visit, if you're a woman, you can visit the other peninsulas, which would be quite lovely. And then also there's plenty of opportunities for ancient history. Making a day trip to Delphi or Olympia or Mycenae. Mycenae is not far from Nafplio, so you could do it as a day trip from there. Or if you're coming from Athens, stop there and then continue to Nafplio. So there are a lot of options. It really just comes down to, like I said with the previous question, what are your preferences? What are the things you really love? What are the things you want to make sure that you don't miss? And then that will be easier to kind of dictate out kind of the perfect itinerary. But you can already see from those multiple options there's a lot. There's a lot you can cover in Greece.
Hey there, fantastic listeners. Let's hit pause on this episode for a thrilling announcement, a golden ticket to Globetrot with Veggies Abroad. Veggies Abroad isn't just your go-to for vegan guides and trip planning tips. It's your passport to extraordinary small group journeys, carefully crafted by the ultimate veggie pusher and your favorite podcast host, me, Rebecca Gade Sawicki. I've spent countless hours researching the best vegan hotels, food, and experiences, and now I'm bringing those experiences directly to you. Join me and my newfound veggie pals on escapades to exciting and exotic destinations around the world. Whether it's trekking through the Thai jungle to witness elephants in their natural habitat, or staying at a carbon-neutral camp in Kenya during the Great Migration, our adventures are nothing short of spectacular. And guess what? Those aren't the only exciting trips awaiting you. So what are you waiting for? Cruise on over to veggiesabroad.com pronto. Well, how about after this episode is over, to explore our dazzling lineup of trips and secure your spot on your next vegan adventure today.
So many things to focus on.
I didn't even get to the islands.
Do you have a Greece guide on your website?
There are a handful of articles on Greece and more to come soon.
Excellent. So yeah, you mentioned one hidden little gem, and I'd like to hear more about Dimitsana. What makes it special for travelers, and what kind of experiences will they find there?
I love Dimitsana. I think it was my favorite, and it's this quiet little village tucked into the mountains, the central Peneloponnesian mountain range. Really gorgeous. Not an area that I would have thought like, oh yeah, we should go there. But there's also a really popular hike. It's called the Mainland Trail. It's 75 kilometers in total. So people go and do it as like a multi-day trip, just like they do a lot of the other, like the hikes in Spain or hikes in Portugal. You also don't have to go and do the full multi-day excursion. You can do shorter hikes that connect different villages. We did a short hike that connected Dimitsana to another little village, and in between we stopped at a monastery, a normal working monastery. The monks were actually working when we came, and so they said, like, you know, if they had a break or whatever, they'd have coffee with us, which I thought, oh wow, that's pretty cool. Interesting about that, and I think it goes back to the Greek Orthodox tradition, is that when women enter, they can enter, but we have to wear pants. Shorts do not count, skirts do not count, dresses do not count. You must wear pants. And so there are actually pants outside of the entrance for women to put on, which I got a good chuckle out of. And it's a really quiet town. There are only a few restaurants, which is fine. There's a really great hotel that we stayed at, and I got to sit and chat with the owner. And he had such a lovely story. His grandfather, I believe it was, bought this property way back when, and it was always his goal to make it into a hotel, but life got in the way, finances got in the way, never was able, and then he died. And so he and his sister took this on and totally gutted it, brought it back to life. And so now they operate it kind of like his memory. And so it was really sweet to learn about his family. And he actually commutes from Athens every day because he has a child in school, and raising a child in such a tiny village, he just felt like that wasn't the best experience for the kid. So that's why he makes this trek every day or multiple times a week from Athens, which is crazy because it's about a 4-hour drive one way. And
do they have a good train system, or is it just driving?
No, the train system, I'd say there's like a regular train between Athens and Thessaloniki, but no, not really a great train system. And there wouldn't be a train into this area, just not...
Too remote.
Nothing is set up for that. There was another train into another tiny village that we went to, but there are often a lot of issues with the Greek train system, and it's a bit of a point of contention because it hasn't been managed super well. When I was there were actual major protests because there was a huge train accident the previous year. And so there were strikes because the government hadn't managed things properly, which is really, really sad. So no, if you want to get to Dimitsana, enjoy the views, and go hiking, you're going to need to drive there. And it is one area that you'll want to take your time driving there because the roads are pretty windy around the mountains and a little bit narrow. So don't try and be Mario Andretti.
It sounds like you really need a travel planner to get you around the mainland, especially like if you're going to figure out transportation and things like that. I can see the value in that. But I want to talk a little bit about romance. Which city do you think, like on the mainland, is probably the most romantic town in Greece?
It's funny you talking about romance. So I think one of the most romantic towns, or it's known as that, is Nafplio.
Oh, what makes it stand out?
So it's just like, it's really kind of a quintessential little seaside town, cute little cafes and bistros, really nice walking like promenade along the water, which is nice. It's also has this really great scenic coastal route. It's called the Palamidi Path. And it begins in town and then it winds around like these cliffs. And so the views are incredible. I actually had posted some pictures and I made a cat friend on that path, which was nice. And then it winds back to the Palamidi Fortress. And so the fortress, no explanation really needed. It was there in olden times to secure the coast. And so you can wander through it. Popular with school groups, a pretty cool place to see. But the coolest part of it is the views. The views are super stunning. You can take the path to get up there. It is, I think it was about 2 miles maybe. Or
a 2-mile hike.
Yeah, maybe it was about that. And depending on which way you go. And you can
paved or path?
Mostly paved. And then you also could start in town and just walk directly to the fortress, but there are a ton of stairs to get to the top. I don't recall. I think they said 1,000 or something. So if like fitness isn't your thing, or you have maybe knee problems or something, mobility issues, you might want to just be driven. And so you can be driven and dropped off right at the entrance to it. But again, it's a very relaxed town, super cute little shops, a cute town square where you can go and enjoy your giant beans and an espresso. When I was there, the Olympic torch was also run through Nafplio, and they made a stop, and they had like a huge little, that's a funny phrase. They had, I guess, huge for the little town, like festival or ceremony to mark the flame being brought to Nafplio and then being handed off, and the runner keep going. So that was really cool to see.
The passing of the torch.
Yeah, passing of the torch. It's a really charming place. And spending a couple nights there is, really nice. And so again, like, if you want that, like, beautiful water, Nafplio can bring that to you. And there are some secluded beaches. When I walked that way, so I was there in April, and the weather was perfect. It wasn't too hot. And people were out at the beach, but the beach wasn't like packed or anything. Not like maybe some of the other images maybe you'd see.
But really, so many people, just when they think of Greece, they think of the islands and they dream of going to these islands. What's worth knowing if someone wants to include them in their trip?
Yeah, so just like with the mainland and like any trip, there's really, islands all have different personalities and different things to offer. If you want to do hiking, you want the ability to kind of get away from the crowds, I think Crete is the best option for that because it is the largest island. It is a year-round island. I will say if you are outside of the heart of the tourism season, you will still find stuff that does close, even on Crete. And that is always an issue. Like going to any of the islands, some of them do like almost completely shut down because they're so geared towards tourism. So it can be challenging to visit them unless like you're just taking care of all of your stuff and you have a car and you're totally sufficient. But Crete is great because there's a mix of things. There's some really great hiking, tiny villages, beautiful beaches. There's actually an area on the island, I think it's called like Hippie Village or something. And there's some really nice beaches in that area as well. And then, like, the popular ones that always come up are Santorini, Mykonos. There are beautiful things about them, but they're tough. Tourism numbers have been really, really, really high. And so that can be really difficult to have a really nice experience just because you're competing with so many people. I would absolutely never recommend to go to either of them in the middle of the summer. Go on the shoulder season if you really want to go. One thing that I did really have a great experience with, though, is I stayed with a family that runs a vegan hotel in Santorini, Ethos. And they actually have a second hotel as well just outside of Fira, which is the capital. And I did not love Santorini, to be honest, but I loved the experience I had with them. So if I were to ever go back, I would only go back because I want to spend time with them. I want to have their hospitality and, chat with them. Like, they made the experience. And so I would say, like, really leaning to any opportunities, local opportunities that you can have if you go to really touristy places. And this is around the world. Like, find those ways that you can really connect, because I think that can change your perspective on a place. I mean, I absolutely did with mine.
So really briefly, throughout the entirety of Greece, did you have trouble anywhere like eating vegan food?
Good question. No, I don't think so. I think, the only time that was a bit of a struggle, and it was only a bit of a struggle because it was my fault, is where I stayed in Crete. I stayed at a hotel that was supposed to have a vegan restaurant, and they do have a vegan restaurant, but the vegan restaurant is only open during the high tourism season, and I did not confirm that. And so that made it challenging. Like, there were still options. I had my heart set on the experience that I had read about online, and that wasn't the experience I was going to have. And I didn't have a car there, and I did take the bus into town, and it was fine, but not everything had opened yet because I was there in April. So that was just the hardest, but that just came down to kind of a timing thing. If I went back again, I would definitely go back to Crete, but I would stay in different areas, and I would get a car.
Okay. So beyond food, I think we have a couple more things on food we'll talk about in a minute, but what activities might people want to consider? So like what kind of things?
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about hiking and that. Like what else? Yeah. What else can people do there?
Greece is really known for olive oil. Most food is cooked in olive oil. And there are some really great farms, some working farms that you could visit outside of Nafplio in the countryside. There's a cool family-run olive farm, and so you can see the entire process. So that's a neat thing. And you could take home real Greek olive oil. Also wineries. Wine is, Greece has a pretty decent size. I mean, I'm no sommelier, but I would say they have a decent size wine region and are known for some of their own varieties. They have 2 native grapes there, and I'm going to just butcher these names. I think it's Assyrtiko and Savatino. Those are both 2 native Greek grapes that are grown there. We did stop at a little winery, and it was kind of off the beaten path, and it was really nice because it was just our group, and it was super quiet. And the family was involved with it, and they talked about the wines. They made me some special food. They got me special bread. It was great. I'm not a wine connoisseur, but just that experience, because it was a little bit more unique, was really, really nice. So definitely, if you're into wine, that is something to check out. And then another thing, getting back to like more active things, sea kayaking is always a fun thing to really enjoy the water. And you could go and explore Epidaurus. There is a part that is on the land for this ancient site, but there's also an ancient sunken city. It's also called the Lost Atlantis, where ruins just appear beneath the waves. And so you can take a kayak and you can see it. And the pictures of it look amazing. And then from there, a lot of like the tours, they take you to some more remote beaches for lunch. And it's really pretty.
So I'm sure you're going to get some comments on your pronunciation of these.
I deserve it. I'm sorry. I should have YouTubed it.
Very fair, because I don't think those words are probably the longest. Their words in Greece are probably the longest in the world.
I don't know. I feel like some other languages really they could go head to head in competition.
That's true. There's some very difficult Hungarian words to say. Thai, like Thai is pretty tough too. But yeah. Anyway, now you've alluded a little bit to Santorini and Mykonos and places like that being a little bit like having a little bit of over tourism. So I know you talk a lot about and you really promote responsible travel. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us what role smaller towns and family-run spots play in creating a more responsible trip?
So I think anytime this comes up, travelers immediately think like, oh no, this is going to mean I'm going to have a less than type experience, or it's, not going to be as comfortable. And I think it's the exact opposite. You're going to have a better experience when you plan things more responsibly and through a lens that really focuses on the destination and not the tourist. Because through this, you are able to connect with the people who live there, the people who call it home. People will welcome you sometimes into their spaces and share with you things that you're not going to learn through a Rick Steves guidebook. Sorry, Rick Steves, it's no shade. Or a Lonely Planet guide or anything like that. And that's, the way that you really can appreciate a place. And like for me, I didn't really care about Greece before this, but I connected with the people, and the people really make you appreciate things in a way that you wouldn't appreciate them just by walking by them. Like when we went to Dimitsana, We had lunch at this tiny little taverna. It was run by a single woman. Her husband passed away, I think, maybe a couple of years previous. So she was trying to run everything on her own. I think maybe her mom was involved. And so there was just like this small outfit. They don't get really any tourists. And so our group went there, and she was like just elated. She actually like had tears, and I like brought tears to my eyes too, because it just like it was so meaningful. She didn't speak a lot of English, but she did chat like through our guide and shared a little bit about like why this was important to her, why it was, you know, meaningful to keep this restaurant going. So like those are things like you're not going to get just driving by or walking in a place on your own or reading online. Like those can really make your trip. And just like staying at Ethos in Santorini and learning about that family and why is hospitality so important to them, and why did they choose to make these pancakes versus these pancakes, or have these toiletries in their room versus other toiletries. Like that just really adds to your overall experience. It makes it more immersive, more rich. It just like, you know, food, there are layers to travel, and it just adds to the layers.
I may be biased, but I really always love to hear you talk about responsible travel. I just think you do such a wonderful job talking about that. But I just had to say that real quick. So Greek food has a reputation for cheese and seafood. What might surprise vegan travelers about what's actually available?
Yeah, so actually there's an article on the website, and it's traditional Greek dishes that are actually vegan. So like I said, a lot of dishes are made with olive oil and not butter. So that, like right off the top, makes things a little bit easier when you're like thinking, oh no, was that fried in lard or something? No, it was most likely fried in olive oil. Veggies and things, it's just not common for them to use butter. I will say, though, that vegan vegetarian is still, like, depending on where you are in the country, the differentiation of the two might be well known. But there's a lot of traditional Greek dishes that are vegan friendly. Like, just right off the bat, you don't have to worry about them. One of my favorites is gigantis plaki, which are giant beans. I actually went to a market and bought a bag of these giant beans to bring home because I love them so much. And they are like a bean stew that are cooked with carrots and like a tomato sauce. And it was funny, in my group, multiple of us came to love these giant beans, but we couldn't find them at every taverna. So we always kept telling our guide, like, hey, that place you chose, does it have giant beans? It kind of became a running joke, but they were just really, really tasty. Stuffed tomatoes, also stuffed zucchini. There's lots of stuffed vegetables, and oftentimes they are stuffed with vegetables, other vegetables, and rice. You will find some that are stuffed with meat, but most are not. Let's see, tomato fritters was another one that I was kind of surprised with. I had lunch with one of the co-owners of the Ethos Hotel in Santorini, and he got a mix of different little appetizer things. We were at this tiny little seafood place, and I think it would have been the southern tip maybe of the island. And I would not have gone there if it weren't for him, because I just like at first glance thinking like, oh no, there's not gonna be anything I can eat there. But there was a ton. They wasn't a problem at all. Fried potatoes, like everybody loves potatoes. You will find potatoes made in a ton of different ways. Their Greek lemon potatoes are the best. I have not had them since leaving. I'd say like that's one thing you really want to make sure that you have. Fava bean spreads, lentil soup, other salads. There's tons and tons of stuff. Like, honestly, this list could go on and on, but you can read it on the website. So that makes it super easy. And I always tell clients, like, if they're going into more rural areas, because their immediate thought is like, I'm going to starve. And you're not, because there's just a lot of things that are just traditionally are safe. And some other salads and things you can get without feta, and it's not a big deal. One thing, like in really rural areas, maybe you want to bring a little non-dairy milk with you. I do remember finding it at some cafes, but not always. So, it's either bring it with you or black coffee is going to be your jam. I think that was the only thing that I noticed.
Oh my gosh. As you're talking about food, I'm sitting here and I'm getting really, really hungry. We're going to have to wrap this podcast up as soon as we can.
And on that note, Matt is dying.
So if someone is mapping out a vegan-friendly trip to Greece, what's the one place or experience you'd say absolutely belongs on their itinerary? And will there be a Veggies Abroad Greece tour coming up anytime soon?
Ooh, two big questions. Okay, so I think every trip to Greece always has to include Athens. No matter what your mom's best friend's cousin told you. I'd always say that because I always get clients that'll be like, so told me that we shouldn't go there because there's a lot of crime or there's pickpockets. Like, it's a major city. Yeah, of course there's crime. Of course there's pickpockets. So it's, where there are people, there are nefarious things. I don't know. We can't get around that, especially in larger places. What you want?
And wait, there's always a so-and-so told me such and such.
Oh, Jesus. It's like one of my least favorite things. I have to always control my face when people want to come to me. I mean, and I've even had so-and-so's like when I've said, oh, I'm going to XYZ. And they're like, why would you go there? It's not worth it. It's just another city. Like, buzz off. You don't know what you're talking about.
You get it, no. Like, you get why it happens to people, but anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, people love giving their opinions. But anyway.
People love traveling, too.
They love opinions, I think, more than travel. Anyway, Athens. I think the city is fabulous. It's a fabulous mix of history. It's a fabulous mix of old and new. Fabulous mix of food. I thought Athens was just super great. It's easy to get around. Transportation's fine. I walked everywhere. I don't even think I used the metro system or the train system to get from the airport into the city, which was fine. I actually wouldn't recommend that just because you're probably going to have to lug your luggage up a hill, and I had to do that. And by the time I got to our hotel, I was sweating like profusely, and it was bad. And I was also super jet lagged, so don't do that. But yeah, Athens. Oh, and if there's going to be a Veggies Abroad tour, I hope so. I can't guarantee it. It is on my list. I want to make it happen. Stay tuned.
Awesome. Oh, real quick, one last question. What's that?
You said that.
What's that? I know, but this is just what I really wanted to know because I was thinking about what's the high season and what's the low season. That's it.
So the busiest time of the year is through the summer, so like June to August. Shoulder season would be like April, May, September, October. And then low season would be anything outside of that. I think it's a great destination during the wintertime because the weather is pretty temperate and pretty comfortable for getting around. The only thing is that if you want to go to the islands, certain islands will not really be operating. You won't find many shops and things open, depending on which island you choose. And then ferry schedules will be shortened, or ferries might not be operating as regularly. So that's something to keep in mind.
Amazing. All right, I'm going to go check the cupboard for some Gigante beans.
Okay, great. Excellent. Make those for me too. All right, thanks for joining me.
Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did. If you did, please consider subscribing and leaving a review. If you'd also like to learn more about upcoming Veggies Abroad tours or get additional travel help, visit veggiesabroad.com and also join our newsletter. It's the best way to stay up to date with loads of new content, like where to find gorgeous vegan hotels, what to eat in cities around the world, trip planning tips, and so much more. Well, that's all I've got for now. Until next time.